how to know if you've got a weak core. It's a question and a reason why a lot of people come and see me. They say, I've got lower back pain, my core's been weak, or I've been told my core's weak, I need to get it stronger. So can we get started on that? One of the first things I need to do is find out, do you need core strengthening or do you need core stabilizing? Because a lot of people, a lot of professionals get the two mixed up. So what we need to be able to do is first of all, identify the differences between them, and then we can start going about putting in place exactly what we need, be it core strengthening or core stability. And if you want to build core strength and stability, please do just click the link below, go through to my How to Build Core Strength and Stability program, and we're going to start putting you through a beginner's core strengthening program, which is going to take you through to intermediate and advanced within 12 weeks. When you get to that part, all the intermediate and advanced workouts open up to you. It's a lifetime program. The beginner's program is 12 weeks long. Then you've got the intermediate and advanced to take you on to 6 months to 12 months and possibly further. The first thing that we need to do is identify core strength, core endurance, and core stability. What are they? If we look at core strength, it's the ability to get into a position and hold it initially. Then core endurance is the ability to hold that posture for a prolonged period of time, resisting or minimizing fatigue. Then when it comes to core stability, this is more about muscle control or motor control, which results in smoothness of movement. So what we're going to do next, now that we've got those three basic ideas of what core strength, core endurance, and core stability is, we're going to look at how we can identify which one we need. So if you've been told that you've got a weak core, well, let's find out if it's weak because you perform poorly in a core strength test. Or do you have core instability because you perform poorly during a core stability test? Because so many people that come to see me will say, I've got a weak core, but you put them in a position, their core is plenty strong enough, but their core is very unstable. So we need to be able to identify between those two so we can then start to put together the right program, the right exercises in the right way for the right person. Starting with core strength and endurance, we're going to go through 3 exercises. Now these can be used as the means of testing as well. So the first one that we're going to do is a plank. Now with regards to core strength, it's being able to get into the position. So we come down, we come onto our elbows, and then from here, I've got my knees on the floor. So being able to hold that position would show that I have the adequate amount of core strength. Obviously, if I want to take it over a period of time, it then starts to turn into endurance. Now, there may be some people that come into this position, they start on their knees, they go like that and they go, I don't think I can do this, and they can't do that, and then they just go straight down. That would show that they need to build core strength. And there are exercises to be able to do that so they can get into that full plank. Obviously, what they would be doing is starting in this position, build up the core strength and the core endurance here, and then over time, and you can fit this together with other exercises. So I don't just recommend doing this one exercise, I recommend doing many exercises, as I've described before in the 12-week program that you can get to below. But what we need to be able to do is get into that position, and then over time, get them up into that full plank. So they've gone from having the core strength to do a half plank to the core strength to doing a full plank, which is harder. So if they can't get into that position, if they stay either in the kneeling plank or they can't even get into the kneeling plank, then we need to address the strength of the body to be able to, first of all, get in that position before we can then start talking about the endurance when we stay there. And that's exactly what the endurance is we would come down into this position and then we would hold, and we would just time that. And again, what we would find out is how long can they hold it. If they're holding it for a minute, then we've got adequate core endurance. So it's very much about understanding, do they need core strength? Can they get into the position and hold it? Do they need core endurance? They can get into the position, but they can't stay there for a prolonged period of time. So again, we have to differentiate between the two. Now, what we've done in the plank is we've looked at the anterior musculature down the front of the body, let's just say the top part of the hips, or the hips, and then the abdominal wall, and then there will be some degree of shoulder strength as well, because again, it could be that the core's okay, but the shoulders fatigue first. So again, that might need to come into the program that you're putting together. What we'll now do is we'll look at the lateral musculature, and all we're going to do is a side plank. Now this one is a little bit more tricky. So a lot of people can have good strength down the front, they can get into the position, they can have good endurance, they can hold that position, but as soon as you put them into a side plank, it all becomes very different. So again, you could start in the same place. You can go to that kneeling plank. Okay, we've got the strength to get there, we've got the endurance to hold it. Let's come out into this full plank. See what the difference is. Have they got the strength to get up into this position? Have they then got the endurance to hold that position? Again, if they have, they don't need a stronger core. They may just need a bit of endurance, but if they can hold it for a long period of time, they then don't need the core endurance either. So we need to start looking at what is the problem within these people's core, and do they really have a weak core? Obviously, you would do that left side and right side. You may then find that there is an imbalance between right and left, which needs to be addressed. So what we're doing is we're not just blanket saying, you've got a weak core, you need to make it improved. What we're really trying to do is, first of all, define what core strength is, core endurance is, and core stability is, and find out where our limitations are within that. Do we need just core strength? If we need core strength, we probably need core endurance to go with it, because we need to be able to get in and hold. But a lot of people might be able to get in, but they can't hold. So we don't need core strength. Our core's not weak, it just needs more endurance, and it fatigues very quickly. The final exercise that we're going to do is the posterior musculature, so the glutes and the spinal erectors. So again, we were just going to use the bridge. So we come down into position, and all we're going to do is come up into the bridge. Again, we may be able to hold it. Some people may only be able to get this high, or they fatigue very quickly, which is showing us that the glute muscles aren't able to hold that position, to get into that position. The strength, could be some range of movement issues, possibly, but also to hold it, which would then be the endurance. So what you've got there is not just being told, blanket, you've got a weak core. What you've got there are the means to be able to say, I'm weak through the anterior musculature, or I'm strong through the anterior musculature but weak through the lateral musculature, or I'm weak through all of them, or I'm strong through all of them but I don't have the endurance that I need. So what you're able to do is then tailor the program more specifically to what you need, rather than just doing loads of planks and not really getting anywhere. Now we're moving on to core stability. Now core stability is different because it's about muscle timing. Now there's a good chance we need strength and we need endurance to go along with this. So when we come down, if we're testing the anterior musculature, we come down into a hand plank and we touch the shoulder. Now obviously we need the strength to get in the position, we need the endurance to be able to hold it. But what we then need is the stability to be able to keep the hips centered. Because what will happen a lot of the time is when people come into this position, they'll go like that. They'll go like that. So they'll have a weight shift, a roll, or it could even drop up and down. So what they then need is, first of all, the strength and endurance to get there. They may have the strength and endurance, but they just don't have the motor control. So if they haven't got the strength and the endurance, they won't be able to get into the position. If they have that and they can get into the position, they need that motor control to be able to hold the pelvis in place. Because when you pick a hand up and touch your shoulder, the moment the hand comes up, certain muscles have to tighten to hold the pelvis in place. And then when you swap the hands, the opposing muscle needs to contract and the one that was contracted before needs to relax. And then they're doing this type of thing. And that's what stability is. It's holding that pelvis. That's what gives you the smoothness of movement, not the quick sort of jerk and the weight shifts and the rolls, etc. So that would be the anterior musculature. The lateral musculature. We would come up into a side plank like we did before. So again, we need that integrity to be able to get up and do this. There are other ways of doing it, but I'm just showing you 3. And then we lift a leg up and then pop it back. Now, just like with the plank that we've just done, it's all about maintaining the hips centered. So as soon as you pick the foot up, your hips want to stay in the same position. Because if there's some instability in there, if the muscles aren't timing properly, then what we need to be able to do is keep the hips up because they're going to want to drop. So this is what can happen. You can go, oh, and then they end up in that position. That's what we want to try and avoid. So we want to be able to have not only the strength to get up there, we need the endurance, but then we need the stability to be able to hold the hips in place. The final one, again, round the back for the posterior muscles, are is again in the bridge. But this time, we're going to keep the feet in the same position, about hip width apart. We're going to lie back. We're going to come up into that bridge that we did before, and we're going to lift a leg. Now again, it's the same here. We want to keep the hips up. We don't want them to drop. And we want to keep the hips nice and level. So again, what we don't want is this type of thing happening. And down. Because all of that movement of the hips is all about instability in the area. So what we need to be able to do is get the hips centered throughout all of these 3 exercises: the hand plank, the side plank, and the bridge. Hopefully now, after watching this video, you'll be able to know if you've got a weak core or not. If you can get into those 3 positions, and then you can hold it for a period of time, you've got the strength, you've got the endurance. If you can't get into those positions, then you need to build that strength up. And a way that you can do that is go into the program below, clicking the link, going through to the How to Build Core Strength and Stability online 12-week program, and getting started. That will build you from that beginner's level all the way up through, build the strength, build the endurance, and build the stability, and then you'll be ready to go into more intermediate and advanced workouts. So hopefully this has given you an understanding of the type of core training that you need, and you'll be able to fulfill that and work through that more specifically after this video.